Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking about the optimal sumo starting position for you. So there's going to be a lot to talk about and I'm not going to be able to cover every single aspect within this 2-3 minute video. So this is going to be a general kind of starting point and then we can build off of that. Now, the first thing that we want to look at with the sumo deadlift is our stance width. The first tip is to stack the joints. So we want to ensure that we have our knees directly over the ankles with the foot at a roughly 45-degree angle. This is going to dictate our initial stance width. If you have a longer femur, you're going to naturally have a wider stance with the feet close to the plates, while shorter femurs will have a narrower stance. By stacking the joints, we ensure the most effective force transfer in the sumo. Now, when we're looking at the sumo from the front, we want to see the tibia and the fibula, aka the shin, perpendicular to the floor, so straight up and down, with the ankle underneath the knee. In order to do this effectively, I like to visualize it by building a house, so having 2 solid walls and a strong roof as well. Then we also want to have our arms coming as directly down as possible, whilst gripping as much of the knurling as we can. There's no point in going straight down with the arms if half the hand is going to be off the knurling. You're just going to minimize your grip. So we need to widen that grip to make sure that the entire hand is in contact with the knurling. Tip number 2 is to keep the hips open. Now, when a lot of people first attempt a sumo, they approach it similar to a conventional with their knees coming forward and then hips going back. Instead, with the sumo, we're going to focus on keeping the hips open with the knees tracking in line with the toes. This is going to allow us to bring those hips in closer to the bar in the sagittal plane and minimize the moment arm of the hips. You've seen the video how I'm trying to lift the bar with the knees tracking in. All that happens is my femur starts internally rotate, knees are tracking forward, I can't get any kind of leverage on the bar. Everything just goes into flexion and I can't lift the weight. So that's what we see quite often is everything tracking in, and that's when we see rounding of the back as well. So knees out, hips open, and keep in a nice extended position. The amount that you open up your hips is going to be individual, so play around with it and find what works best for you. Tip number 3 is to keep the scapula over the bar during the lift. If you were to draw a straight line down from the armpit, it should directly meet the bar. Any kind of deviation from this position is just not going to work in a sumo deadlift. A common mistake I see is that people try and get really vertical, really upright with the torso during the sumo. But when they do this, what tends to happen is they have everything behind the bar, and then as they initiate the lift, their shoulders go forward, hips rise up, and then they just get into a weird kind of position. So don't do that, and then don't set up with your shoulders too far in front of the bar because that's just not going to work either. And the last tip is to keep the bar close to the shins. This tip goes hand in hand with all the other points I mentioned previously. So if one of those is out, then the bar is going to naturally drift away from the body. The further the bar drifts away from the body, the larger the moment arm it creates, which leads to increased demands from the hip extensors and the back to keep the torso from rounding or folding. So you want to make sure that we're doing all those other points correctly to keep that bar close to the shin. Now, hopefully all of these things helped. If you have any questions, if you want me to have a look at your technique and make sure you're doing everything correctly after implementing these things, feel free to send me a video. Drop a comment below if this helped, tag some friends, get them sumoing properly, and yeah, that's all for today. So have a good one. I'll catch you all later.